people in. I see we have Haley has now joined us, so I do have counsel from District 1. Unfortunately, Zoom has put this new, or maybe fortunately, they put this new security feature in place, and either people would have to come in through registered Zoom accounts, or we've set it up now where you just go into the waiting room to come in. So that's why I have that set up that way. It wasn't my choice, but it's a whole lot easier for people to join, being able to go through the meeting room than to have to register with. Patricia, I'm going to mute you again, and then please do not unmute again. Thank you. And so if people had to go through the whole registration, the hassle to that for most people is more than it's worth. So directors, let me just take a quick look. I still don't see that I have Director Gonzalez unless you are in with a phone number but not your name. Would you kindly let me know, Director Gonzalez, and let me record that you're here if you are. Okay. So District 2 Board, it's up to you if you would like. Oh, here he is right now. Directors for both boards, I do have 6 o'clock. We can begin the meetings. I do show I have counsel for both districts. Haley, I don't know if Jeff is planning to join as well or not, but
Dave, I'm here.
Oh, there you are, Jeff. I guess Jeff Erb would be Jeff Erb then. That's
yeah.
Thank you.
I didn't use my secret screen name.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Everybody joining us this evening, the first thing we have for tonight is our statutory annual meeting. That meeting is, as it's named, defined under statute to be held each year. I have the agenda for that on the screen. We make that a fairly quick meeting for this district, you'll find, because I don't have capital projects to discuss this evening. So this shouldn't be very lengthy. Then we'll move right from that statutory annual meeting. We will move then into the district's regularly scheduled meeting. Directors, you'll notice the first item we have on there is to confirm the posting of the notice of statutory annual meeting and agenda, and I can confirm that we did post that. For the statutory annual meeting, we do allow for public comments at the end, so if you would kindly hold your questions for me till the end, I would appreciate it. All of the items on this agenda are as defined by statute. So letter B, presentation regarding the status of public infrastructure projects within the district. The district itself is not constructing any projects. Under C, the presentation regarding outstanding bonds. Let me show you for district number 1. These are the outstanding bonds that you have and the principal repayment for each year, as well as the interest expense for each year. For district number 2, I have your debt service schedule, your amortization schedule shown on the screen as well. For those who'd like to see these and examine these, explore these a little bit further, these I'm pulling directly from the district's audits, and those audits are available to you on the district's website too. Our next item is to review the unaudited financial statements, including the year-to-date revenues and expenditures of the district, and to discuss those in relation to the adopted budget for the calendar year. Directors, I'm going to put that on for you right now for district number 1 first. And directors for both districts, I'm going to review these now as part of the statutory annual meeting. These do appear on the regular meeting schedule. I will not review these again during that meeting. So you'll have the presentation now. When we go into the regular meeting, I'll simply ask you for a motion to accept them, please. For district number 1, directors, your scheduled cash position as of the end of the 3rd quarter at end of September 30th, you had a total of $501,816 in your operating funds, $715,640 in your debt service funds, total position of $1,217,456.54. In the balance sheet for District Number 1, again, through the end of the third quarter, all these financials will be through the end of the third quarter. You can see the assets broken down for the general fund. The debt service fund you can see as well. And for the liabilities, really the only liability and there was still a small tail of property taxes receivable that had not yet been received. And so that's what you're looking at there. We do have under the liabilities, you'll notice the bonds, the outstanding bonds, and that is all that shows under your liabilities, a little bit of accounts payable, but that's what we have for District Number 1. Going into the income statement for District Number 1, and for all joining the meeting this evening, the way these are broken down, period actual is for the month of September, year-to-date actual is for the first 9 months of the year. Budget is what had been approved for the full year of 2025, and then our variance and our percentage of budget, both of those figures are based upon the full 12 months. These are not prorated out. So looking for the through the end of the third quarter for District Number 1, you had already received 112% of budgeted revenues. You'll notice the reason that you've received that amount is you have the service and facilities fees. Those were not budgeted for 2025, but those were implemented during the course of 2025. As a result, you're over your budgeted revenues. On the expenditure side, for District Number 1, oh, gone too fast. For the general administrative expenses, you're at 154% of what you had budgeted. That really comes down to a couple of different things, your legal fees, your management fees, and your accounting fees. This line item, property management, we have now changed, and you'll see in the next set of financials, that has been revised to read covenant control instead of property management. That was a legacy item that was from the prior year's budget, and that's the reason that title shows on there. But you are at 154% of your budgeted expenditures for general administrative. For ops and maintenance, you're at 1/3 of what you had budgeted for the year. For your clubhouse operations, you're over, I can see that's a hard one to read. But you are over, you're at 131% of total expenditures. I'm sorry, you're at 31%, not 131% of total expenditures that you had budgeted for your clubhouse operations. For the general fund, remaining all the way down, we're at 100% for the pool operations of what you had budgeted for the year. Looking at the debt service fund, you had budgeted 98, you are at 98% of what you had budgeted for your revenues. The reason the expenditures show low is because through the end of the third quarter, you've only paid half of your bond interest payment for the year, which is normal. You pay half on June 1st, you pay the other half on December 1st. So that would be the other half of the bond interest, and then the bond principal payment is only payable once a year, and that's payable on December 1st. So we would anticipate by the end of the year, and as we start discussing the budgets, you'll see the forecast, we would expect that all of that would be paid through the end of the year. And that, directors, for District Number 1 is an overview of your financials for District Number 1. For District Number 2, your operating funds balance at the end of the third quarter, $238,070. For your debt service fund, $1,937,001. And you have the special revenue fund or the carriage homes fund balance of $15,410.03. Your total cash available then is $2,190,481.64 million. For your balance sheet, directors, you're looking at still a small tail of property taxes, and no reason to expect those won't be paid prior to the end of the year, but they are slow payers. And so that's the reason those continue to show on your balance sheet. Otherwise, really nothing all that remarkable. There is for district number 2, you do have that due to district number 1 as of the end of the third quarter. This is really just a timing issue because we are making the transfers, but that was $31,818 at the end of the third quarter. And then your debt payments for the outstanding bonds show on the balance sheet. Really nothing else remarkable on your balance sheet. Looking at the income statement for the general fund, similar to district number 2, you're at 117% of your budgeted revenues. Really the big piece of that being, again, as I mentioned earlier, your service and facilities fees. Those had not been budgeted, but those have been received. We also have some additional small amounts that we're showing in the revenues. On the expenditure side, directors, your general administrative, again, over in the same categories as for district number 1. For your operations and maintenance, you are sitting at 45% of what you have budgeted. I'm going to remove you from the meeting, Patricia, if you continue to take yourself off of mute. I guess you'll do that on your own. Directors, for the general fund pool operations, you are at 128% of your budget for district number 2's budget. You'll notice when we start looking at the budgets for 2026, we've normalized and we've had those two match for the districts. So you shouldn't have this type of a variance in your percentage of budget going forward. This was only due to what you had budgeted being different from what District 1 had budgeted. For your debt service fund, District 2, you were sitting at 104% of what you had budgeted for this year's revenue. And just like I explained for District 1, you've paid half of your bond interest payment. The other half plus the bond principal will be paid December 1st, and that should bring us to 100% of what you had budgeted. And then finally, you have the carriage homes. And the carriage homes, we are sitting at 168% of budgeted revenue. Obviously, it's impossible to be able to accurately forecast revenue for new construction because you just don't know what the absorption rate's going to be as they come into the district. So, obviously, this is not something that you had anticipated or could have budgeted accurately for. And then on the expenditure side, you're at 75%, just under 76% of total expenditures budgeted for district number 2. So for all who are joining the meeting this evening, that addresses A, as I explained, we did post that. B, there is nothing. C, I gave you the amortization schedules for those outstanding bonds. D, I just went through the financials. So we're on to letter E, which is public questions on anything that's been presented during this statutory annual meeting. If you want to have other commentary, you may offer that as we move into the regular meeting. And tonight's regular meeting will have 2 opportunities to speak in addition to this statutory annual meeting opportunity to speak. So questions specific to the annual meeting data presented to you, members of the public. For anybody who would like to, you may either raise your hand or you may come off of mute. And if there are questions, we're happy to address those for you. Otherwise, directors, we will move into the general meeting. Going once, going twice. Okay. Directors, let me stop sharing this and start sharing the other packet for you. Directors, on your screen now, we have the regular agenda, and we will obviously continue going down through the meeting as shown on this now. First item we have on there is to confirm a quorum, and I can confirm that we have all 4 directors for District 1. We have all 5 directors for District 2, so we've achieved a quorum. Directors, if there are any changes you would like to see made to the agenda for the meeting, please let me know of those.
I do have one, David. Just
Yes,
to
sir.
In interest of resident time, for legal matters under section 7, could we move item D above item C? That way residents don't have to wait for the executive session to come out and be left in a waiting room.
I don't see why we could not do that. Directors in District 1, are there any that would be opposed? And let me show you on the screen what we're talking about. Director Manley is asking to move this item, letter D, ahead of letter C, which is the executive session. Is there any objection from any of the directors on District number 1 to doing that? Very well. Are there any other changes? District 1 directors, if I can get a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended, please.
Motion to approve agenda as amended.
Thank you. And a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any opposed? District number 2 directors, if I could get a motion from you to approve the agenda as well, please.
So moved.
Thank you, sir. And a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any opposed? Directors, we're into the public comments portion of the agenda. And as I mentioned to the everybody on this call just a moment ago, and I'm going to enlarge this so I can read it better too. I'm losing eyesight, I think. Directors and members of the public, this evening we have 2 opportunities still for you to be able to address the board. There'll be this opportunity to discuss anything that you would like to that's not otherwise being discussed this evening. But if you have comments specific to the budget, you will have an opportunity to discuss the 2025 proposed budget amendments and the proposed 2026 budgets later in the meeting, because we'll have a public hearing as required under statute to allow you to make those comments to the board. So because we have such a heavy agenda this evening, what I would ask, just as a courtesy for members of the public, certainly not as a requirement, if you'd like to address the board, please feel free to do so. I don't have the chat up this evening, so just raise your hand on the bottom of the screen. When I'm done with all of the raised hands, we will then go into anybody else who wants to address the board. I would ask, though, members of the public, if you're addressing the board about something that a prior speaker has already addressed the board about, if you can keep your comments brief, that would certainly be appreciated as we try to hit a reasonably timed meeting this evening. Is there anybody who would like to address the board? If so, please raise your hand or come off of mute and let me know. Beautiful. Well, let's move into administrative matters. Directors for District 1, you had the minutes of the May 29th special meeting and the minutes of the October 1st regular meeting. Are there any corrections, additions, changes, revisions you'd like to see made to those? If so, please let me know. Otherwise, I could take a motion and a second to approve those, please.
No, I have an objection to the fact that I won't approve the work study session meeting on May 29th. The secretary was there and didn't take notes. It was not required.
Okay, so I have Director Davis, is that a motion from you to approve the minutes of the October 1st, 2025 meeting, just not the May 29th meeting?
Correct.
Thank you, sir. And is there a second to that motion, please?
I second.
Thank you. Directors, are there any opposed? Thank you. Directors for District number 2. We had the minutes of the October 1st meeting in your packet. If there are any questions on those, changes, additions, deletions, corrections, I'm happy to address those. Otherwise, a motion and a second to approve those as presented, please.
So moved.
Thank you, sir. And a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. Any opposed? Directors, next item we have on the agenda for both districts is your 2026 annual administrative resolutions. Those were in the packet, and as you probably noticed as you go through those, they kind of lay the groundwork for how the districts will operate in 2026. They spell out when the meetings will be, where we publish for public notices that are required to be published, so on and so forth. I will note for the boards that both of those resolutions do show meetings being on the first Wednesday of the month at 6 o'clock. Whether or not we have to hold those is a whole different story. Those meetings can be canceled, and I think and I don't want to speak for Jeff or Joan, but I think it's council's desire to have it set up with those meetings and then have us cancel versus having less frequent meetings and having us schedule special meetings. Joan, Jeff, if I've stated that incorrectly, kindly correct me.
It's much less expensive and easier, more efficient if everyone has a meeting on their calendar. If we want to cancel it, it's simply an email that goes out versus trying to schedule a special meeting.
And Jeff,
So-
you're nodding your head in agreement with that, it looks like.
Yeah, that's acceptable, if management and is recommending we don't need the meeting and the board doesn't otherwise want to have it, then they can certainly be canceled because a quorum won't be attending.
Thank you. So directors, with that groundwork laid for you, is there a motion from D1 to approve the 2026 annual administrative resolution as presented?
Motion to approve the annual resolution as presented.
Thank you. And a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any opposed?
I
Directors
oppose.
for district
I oppose.
opposed
There's-
by
there's
Director
several
Davis.
areas. Excuse me, am I talking?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. I was saying opposed by Director Davis.
Yes, opposed. There's several areas that need to be addressed to be compliant with House Bill 25-1219. So I suggest I'll send my updates to Jeff.
Well,
Yeah.
Rob, we can talk about them now since this is a designated time to actually speak about it. What issues are you having with it in the House bill that legal want to be aware of?
Jason, there's several issues, and I don't want to drag the meeting out. I'll send them to Jeff, and he can
Well,
incorporate.
Director Manley, please, if you would let me handle the meeting. Director Davis, if there are questions about the resolution, since that has been reviewed by Jeff, it would be good to have this approved. We do need to have, if we're going to cancel the December meeting, as I'll propose at the end of this meeting, it would certainly be helpful to have this administrative pass this evening. If you're the only opposed, that doesn't cause a problem. If I don't have any other opposed from District Number 1 directors.
I would oppose as well.
Okay, so now, Jeff, can you please walk through that for us?
I could, but it's coming out of the blue for me here, so I'm not prepared. I don't know what the issue is, so maybe we can talk about that, or if we need to add something to the resolution, it's the board's resolution, and we can certainly do that.
There's a bunch of edits in E, F, and G that need to be inserted in order to be compliant with that House bill that was approved in May of this year.
Okay, sure. Well, I guess doesn't sound like it's going to pass. So maybe Jim, just send me whatever you think those edits are, and we can take a look at
Director
it.
Manley, please. Jeff, let me suggest this. I'm going to defer this item to the end of the agenda for District 1 so we can discuss it at that point, and see if we can come up with something then. If not, then we'll either postpone it until a December meeting, or we can try to roll it into 2026. So that gives Haley perhaps a little time to look at those letters that Director Davis just pointed out as being non-compliant with statute. Gives us time to try to get a legal response before the end of the meeting, since this was just sprung on you. For District Number 2 directors, if I can get a motion from you to approve the resolution for District Number 2 and a second, please.
So, quick question for Joan. Is there going to be any issues if we approve this and with D1 not approving it, or just want to get your
No, we've included statutory updates in the
Okay.
administrative resolution. Thank you for asking.
Okay, I want to
And
make
these
sure.
are
I
separate
trust legal counsel, so
resolutions.
I,
These are
I,
separate.
yeah. Yep, I motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Director Hobbs. Any opposed? District number 1 and district number 2. Next item on the agenda is to discuss the transparency notice posting. Customarily, we've posted those on district websites and on the SDA websites because both of those are free and free is for me. So if you would like to continue doing so, that meets all statutory requirements and doesn't cost the district a dime. If there are any objections to that, please let me know of those. Perfect. Let's move into financial matters. Directors in district number 1, you had the claims in your packet as shown. Were there questions on any of those claims? If not, I could entertain a motion to ratify approval for the payment of those claims, please.
I'll motion that.
Thank you, sir. And a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any opposed? Directors District number 2, you had claims in your packet. Gosh, I cannot read those. If there are any questions from District number 2 directors, I'd be happy to address those. Otherwise, a motion and a second.
I had
Yes,
one
sir.
question. I think there's one more that needed to be added. It seems as though we made an approval, and I don't know if you made the payment for Brymar. It was one that was added, I believe.
The legal invoice, Director
Right.
Matches.
Was that in November or in October?
I think that got moved into November based upon your concern with how we were coding that. So I
Okay,
think that's the reason you're not seeing that then.
makes sense. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Director Matches, was that then a motion from you to ratify approval for the claims that were in the packet?
Yes.
Thank you. And is there a second to that, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Director Kaufman. Any opposed? Thank you. Directors for District number 1, I went through the financials during the statutory annual meeting, but I did not during that time allow the opportunity for any questions you might have. And I do want to make sure that you are afforded that opportunity. If there are any questions you had on what I presented, please let me know of those and I'll put those back on the screen for you.
I have a issue with the CSAFE account showing a minus 8969. That's the same, that's been in dispute since May, and that's the number that was positive 5,300 in December 31, 2024. And by Caitlin's own admission, the auditor found that it should be 9,300 or something like that, negative 9,300. And now 8969 is back on there. And Caitlin said she was just going to wipe it off. And I have a dispute with wiping it off. We need to understand where those funds went.
Yeah, as I've explained to you, and as Caitlin has explained to you, Director Davis, these are funds that were adjusted by the auditor through an adjusting journal entry. The reason they show up is because the adjusting journal entry had not been entered at that point. But it's not like there are funds that are missing or funds that were mismanaged. These are simply journal entry funds that the auditor, and I can certainly pull up the same email if you would like to, but I think this has been explained twice to you at this point.
Yeah, it was explained, and it shows supposed to be 9,095 according to the auditor. And then Caitlin said she was just going to do a journal entry and wipe it out. So how do you have it go from a positive to a negative to a wiping it out? That's my concern.
Okay, Director Davis, what I'm going to suggest is I'll re-forward that email to you, and if there is an additional question It might be best to have me connect you with the auditor and you can talk to the auditor about that.
Be glad to.
Good. Well, let me do it that way because I think that that's going to get you the best answer is directly from the auditor. So directors for District 1, let me see if other than Director Davis's concern, are there any other concerns that you have with the financials that were presented? Any other questions you have? Director Davis, would you like me to defer calling the question then on acceptance of those financials until you've had a chance to talk to the auditor?
Yes.
Good enough. Let me do that. Directors in District number 2, you had the same financial presentation during the statutory annual meeting. If you have questions on those, please let me know of those, and I'm happy to address those for you and put those back on the screen for you. And if there are none, then I'd be happy to entertain a motion and a second to accept those, please.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Director Matches. Are there any opposed? Directors, next item on the agenda is to consider the engagement of the auditor. Steve Dazio was the one who did your audit for 2024. And we do have an engagement letter from him for the 2025 audit for each district in an amount not to exceed $6,500. Both districts are required to have audits done. So if there is a motion from district number 1 to approve the engagement of Dazio and Associates for the 2025 audit, I could entertain that motion now.
Motion.
Thank you. And a second, please.
I second.
Thank you. Are there any opposed? For district number 2, if I could from you get a motion and a second to approve the engagement of Dazio and Associates, please.
So moved.
Thank you, sir. And a second, please.
Yeah, I'll second.
Director Mach has started to get in a little bit, but gosh, I sure heard Director Toma come in heavy on that one. So I'm going to give the tie to the runner, and Director Toma gets that one. Sorry, Andy.
Fine.
Directors in District 2, any opposed? All right. Directors, we are on to the fun portion of the evening. This is the portion where we discuss the draft budgets. These draft budgets have been circulated to all of you. I'm going to go through each district's budget and tell you where we are and how we came up with everything. For district number 1, your assessed valuation increased from 16.3 million to 18 million. And I'm using round numbers, obviously. The actual preliminary AV for 2026's budget is the 18,022,770. This is the actual AV for 2025. Keeping the mill levy the same for the general fund, we would end up looking at total revenues, and that's for both the same AV for both the general fund and debt service revenue, I should say. Total revenues for next year of 866,186. For those who are watching, and I'm going to explain the layout as I go through this, 2024 actual is obviously what was actual. 2025 adopted is what the board approved last year, but this AV was the final AV. And so that's what you're looking at here is simply preliminary. This is subject to change potentially when the assessor puts out the final AV in December. It should not change dramatically, but it is possible that there'll be a slight variation there. Oh, heavens, there's no way I can read this. All right, directors. For those looking on the screen trying to understand this, I'm going to have to scroll back and forth up the screen for you. 2024 actual is what the actual amount from the audit was for all of these categories. Our year-to-date actual is what matches up with what I just presented during the course of the statutory annual meeting. The 2025 adopted, this middle column is what the board approved last year for this year. 2025 estimated is an absolute wild guess. And I tell you that it's a wild guess because I always try to make sure that we are estimating revenues too low and expenditures too high. I'd always rather you be surprised to the good side than the bad side. And on some of these expenditures, because we just don't have the ability to control them, for example, snow removal, I just look at a worst case scenario when we forecast this out. And then 2026 preliminary budget is simply what we have put together. It's what you as a board are discussing this evening. And if there are changes that you would like to make, that will all be possible this evening before you vote to approve the budget. So for 2024, for the 2025 adopted budget, the first thing I want to do is I want to come down to the bottom and I want to show you the total. It's easier to do this way. I want to show you the total expenditures requiring appropriation. The reason this matters is when we discuss a amendment to the 2025 budget, we will look at district number 1 to have a general fund adjustment. The reason is under statute, you cannot spend more than you budget. And because your budgeted total expenditures were 431,323 for 2025, and because I'm forecasting, this is not an actual figure, this is simply a forecast, 464,537, I always like to make sure that we go with a round number. I'm going to suggest to the board that we make that 475,000 as a round number for the district number 1 general fund budget amendment. And I'll explain that process and we'll have a public hearing. I like to go through for Joan, you and I have not done a budget hearing together before. I go through both 2025 and 2026. Then we open the budget hearing for both of those, the amendments and the budget at the same time. It just tends to be more efficient for everybody's time. So I don't want you to be concerned that I'm going too quickly through 25 and not allowing the hearing at that point. So directors for District 1, I will be asking for that budget amendment for District number 1's general fund. You'll notice what I'm showing you for 2025 estimated versus adopted. We should end up roughly 30,000 more in revenues than you had anticipated when you budgeted. On the expenditure side for the G&A, that's really where we're going to be over budget substantially. And I've already explained that as we went through the third quarter financials, why that would be. On the operations and maintenance, I think you're going to come in a little bit below what you had budgeted for the year. For the clubhouse operations, you'll notice I think that you're going to come in a little bit below what you had budgeted for the year. And for the pool operations, we came in $2 below what I believe will be the case for the year. So all of that totaled, though, this is why we end up with the need for a budget amendment. Our amount for total expenditures does exceed what you had budgeted. With that worst case scenario, I'm hoping that I'm showing you, we're still looking at an ending fund balance of $400,000. That $400,000 then becomes the beginning fund balance for next year.
David,
Yes, sir.
can you go back to the pool, stay at the pool there? Pool chemicals, 6,500 is about $14,000 less than what we've spent already year to date.
Yeah, you'll notice there's nothing that's showing year to date for pool chemicals. This was a category that you had created when, or you didn't, because this was not a budget that you guys that you guys handled at the time it was passed. This pool chemicals budget was a line item that was a legacy item from Timberline. It's not something that we've been tracking this year because we have not been ordering pool chemicals. That was all included as part of the operator contract for the pool operator.
Where are we paying?
All right.
So coming back up to the general fund, that $400,000, that 398,103 ending fund balance from this year becomes our beginning fund balance for next year. We're bringing in our property tax revenue. Specific ownership taxes are purely a guess. There's no accurate way to try to forecast that. Interest income on a $400,000 basis, we're assuming somewhere along 21. I think that may end up being a little bit on the high side, but nonetheless, we're assuming that to come in. For the service and facilities fees, I know we're going to talk about a fee increase this evening from the current 25 to 35 a month, and that revenue then would generate $105,000. For clubhouse rentals, again, impossible to really be able to forecast, so we just show that as 1,000. And then our rental cleaning fee collections we have at 1,500. On the expenditure side, we're trying to assume next year much more normal accounting and district management. The audit you just approved at 6,500. Our insurance and SDA dues were coming in roughly, we believe, at about 18,000 when we get the final bill from the SDA pool. Legal fees for district number 1, we're assuming again we get a certain normalization next year. We do show for next year a small election fee amount, and the reason we have an election fee amount in a non-election year is there really are no more non-election years under statute. There's work to be done even in the non-election years. We have to get lists from the county and such, so that's why I'm showing 1,000 to 2,000 on most budgets for election work. Miscellaneous expenses, the dues, the treasurer's fees. Actually, we have an amount in there that I think is a little bit high, and I just noticed that for the first time that it's a little high. Treasurer's fees are actually set at 1.5% of what the total revenues are. The treasurer takes the treasurer's fees and remits to the district. For dues and memberships, then covenant control is what we're showing as 16,000. We've changed the category away from what it had been, which was community management, and we've now made that actually directors for District 2. Director Kaufman, didn't we change that to operations now? Yeah, that's what I thought. So after this came out, we did have the budget. We've changed this to covenant control, from covenant control to district operations and management. And that covers not just covenant work, but it covers clubhouse operations done by management too. So when we have Travis sit up there and handing out or reprogramming pool cards, for example, that comes under this too now for next year.
And did D1 have any say-so in the changing of the title?
No, and you certainly could make a change this evening if you'd like to.
I don't see why we need to change it. There are covenants that need to be controlled.
And then we have a
The
contingency.
suggestion for the name change was so it wasn't misinterpreted as a HOA action of strictly the covenant control of, hey, you need to put your garbage cans away. You didn't paint your house the right color. You know, you got a car parked. So, Jim, it was just an idea to keep it, since it was including everything that Travis and Charlie did. The idea was to make it a more friendlier name and not misinterpret what it is. But obviously do whatever you want, but the idea was it's not just covenant control, i.e. ticketing type of functions.
Thank you, Director Kaufman.
Well, I understand the methodology, but there are, even though we're not an HOA, we do have covenants. So we do have the covenant responsibility. And I'd like to see a split between what is considered covenant control and key fob reprogramming and driving to and from in order to deliver key fobs and all the other miscellaneous stuff that is so far added about $30,000 to the
Oh,
covenant
it's all
control.
it's all property management though. So it's driving out here, yes, for covenant control, but it's also driving out here to oversee the landscapers. It's driving out here to
It
do
has
the
nothing to do with covenant control, Jason. It's property management. It should be in property management, not covenant control.
Well, there
and
is
that's why
no
I thought
property
of
management. The
It
problem,
should be in
Director
some
Davis,
kind of
is when
property management.
the problem is when my people bill, they bill based upon their job category. So when Travis comes out, he bills in covenant control for his work on the community.
Mhm.
That includes then when he starts sending letters, violation notices, any communications from residents regarding questions about ARC, architectural review, or questions, concerns about landscape when he gets those. All of that gets billed in the same piece.
Right, but I don't see, I see a big difference between discussions about how to rent the clubhouse, how to rent gazebo, programming fobs. That's not part of covenant control.
quick
Okay,
question
well,
for you,
since
Jim. If Travis or Charlie drive out here, they're sitting in the clubhouse. Residents know they can go ask them questions. 15 residents show up. 10 of those residents are asking, hey, about renting the clubhouse. What are the rules for this? How do I get my key fob? And the other 5 are doing, hey, what colors can I paint? What's the status of my arc? Hey, you sent me this violation. What do I do? How much time and effort do you want us to be billed to nitpick that billing, to split those?
I'm not, SDMS is the one that provided a list of account codes. So there's probably 4 account codes that could be used versus 1.
Yeah, but I'm saying when they're out here for that piece and their time is billed, as David said, it's done by the analyst basically to be out here. How we're already paying a lot of money. You go back and look at how much time is being split for SDMS to split fees and say, hey, this is D1 versus D2, to recodify things, to deal with that piece of it. You want them to continue to split that because you just want better clarification when it's going to cost us more in the long run to keep nitpicking each thing more and more down versus just saying, hey, this is the operational management of the community, and operational management of the community involves anything and everything from covenant control to questions about landscaping to ARC. I mean, to me, it makes much more sense to roll it out to have it as an easier documentation task and billing task, so we're not having to pay for them to do quarter increments in every little area. It's just one complete piece. We know the resource. The resource is responsible for multiple things, and it's just done.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to approve it. So
It's okay. Well, in a few months or a couple of weeks, there'll be someone new on the board probably.
the way that it's written is fine for you then, Director Davis, because it does show as covenant control and it does show as 16,000. This would be what you would be approving tonight, not what District 2 and I discussed for District 2's budget.
per my budget that I submitted to you that has very little input on this budget, I budgeted and I used AI to determine the amount, and actual covenant control was $8,000.
Yeah, your budget was off quite a bit from reality. And so it didn't meet the statutory requirements for when we put a budget together, which is why.
Going back and looking at the spend trends and using those and adding a bumper, it doesn't meet statutory requirements.
Okay, we'll agree to disagree, Director Davis. Under operations and maintenance, we have total expenditures showing based upon landscaping and our guess at snow removal. All of the other categories. For clubhouse operations for next year, we're showing the categories that you see with numbers populated are the categories we're keeping. The other categories, it's too much granularity in the prior budget. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to try to track electric repairs, plumbing repairs, mechanical repairs. Makes more sense to have repair line item. And so that's what we're showing here. Then for your pool operations for next year, we still don't have a final figure, but we're estimating at $61,000 for your total pool operations. With that in mind, you have your Tabor required emergency reserves at 3% of the revenues. And we do have the transfer to the capital projects fund. The capital projects fund is what we're looking at here is the amount that is from the settlement being moved into a capital projects fund, so you as a board can begin having greater transparency with the residents to understand, residents can understand those monies that you received in the settlement are monies that you have theoretically committed to other projects that have to be done. For example, the pool deck replacement. And so moving those into the capital projects kind of makes them a little bit segregated and a little more obvious that it is your plan, should it be your plan, to have those funds used for specific projects and not really for the operations of the district. So that was something that I've suggested, and certainly we can move it back into the general fund and not segregate them, but that was an attempt at greater transparency and greater accountability for you as a board. With that in mind, we would have an ending fund balance next year of $11,000. There's not a whole lot of cushion in this budget. Questions on the general fund budget?
So one question, David, and I've been talking with Keith and Andy a bit. I just want to make sure we're having this piece like open discussion. The original concept of the IGA showed everything rolling from D2 to D1 as far as G&A, like pool operations and landscape operations side of it. Does this budget, the numbers you have populated here, is that the district as a whole, or did you do the same thing for D2 and this is just a half number for the district for the D1 budget?
Great question, Director Manley. This is a half budget. So I have the exact same figures under any of those shared expenses, pool operations, landscapes. All of those figures are halved, and you have the same as D2 has. Yep. That also differs from what you had in the 2025 budget.
Yep. Do we have plans to move more towards the IGA process of that piece so it's not spinning the accounting processes to say D1 half, D2 half, all those pieces, knowing that it's not a clear and concise half between the two districts? And then there's always going to be variance in how things are being utilized across the groups and funding piece. I know right now, because of the makeup, things are special, but to me, it reads cleaner to have a operating district and then funding in from an operation district. That way you don't have to worry about, hey, this one.
That's not something that we have the ability to do, Director Manley. I'm going to cut you off just because it's going down a rabbit hole. We don't have the ability to have a funding district and an operating district. We have two districts.
Isn't that how the IGA was written?
Because of that IGA, you have responsibility given to one district, but that district is not an operating district. There's a difference between what would be considered an operating district and two co-equal districts that have an agreement between them to cost share.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in, but Jason, what you're talking about is how we set it up. We set it up because we realized it might be easier just to run all the money through one fund.
Yep.
So the original IGA between D1 and D2 was to create a community amenities fund that would live in D1. And then the funds for the shared expenses, which is clubhouse and the shared landscaping costs, would just be transferred from the D2 account to the D1 account. Yep. And then the payments made out of the D1 account. And the agreement has a whole mechanism for the districts to agree on the costs and how much is going to be shared and shortfall amounts if there's not enough money from the fees. It is all set forth there.
Yeah,
In
that's
the
what,
end, in the end, the IGA can be amended between the districts if that way's not working, that's not what we're actually doing. If we need to make a change, that's fine. That was just the way we set it up when the districts first split off from D4, whenever that was, about 14 months ago or 15 months ago.
yeah. So that was my recollection as well, Jeff, that we had
Yeah.
it so that there just be one management budget to oversee everything. So not
Yeah.
to your point, David, not a operating district, but one budget that was overseen. So it was a clear and concise number to track back to, and then the funding was clear and concise in the IGA that set out the operational math of what would come from D2 to pay for that operation budget. That way, there wasn't this back and forth piece of it.
Yeah, and then we set it up too so that all the contracts for the shared
Or D1.
amenities are joint contracts
Oh, yeah.
between D1 and D2, so that both boards are reviewing and approving everything. So we don't have, I think what Dave's alluding to, this kind of older version that we had of some one district's just kind of controlling everything and taking everybody's money. We weren't trying to set
No.
that up. We were just trying to set it up for ease of
Easy budgeting
financials.
purposes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I think this is a great time to bring it up when we're doing the budgets here. We'll have the public hearing, and the board can talk about if they want to make a tweak to the budget to match the IGA, or if we want to put amending the IGA, as a task item and tweak that to match the way the budgets are presented. Either way could be a solution.
Thank you, Jeff. Deeply appreciate.
The director is moving into the debt service fund for district number 1. For the end of this year, I already explained to you our estimated should be the same as you had budgeted. I wouldn't expect anything different from that. That leaves us an ending fund balance this year, becoming the beginning fund balance for next year. The property tax revenue expected to be collected based upon that millage. The SO taxes, again, a wild guess, and the interest income, again, off of that balance from next year. Then our scheduled bond payments for P&I for next year, the trustee fees, all of that would be total expenditures next year, $475,484, which will leave us an ending fund balance next year, $341,466.
David, what is the statutory requirement for the ending fund balance on this one?
There isn't a statutory requirement. You would have a bond covenant requirement, and I don't know offhand if you do have a bond covenant requirement. Joan, do you know what the minimum balances are for the reserve fund? I'd have to look through the bond document. I'm sorry, Jeff, I didn't mean Joan. Jeff, I'd have to look through the bond fund, the bond documents to see if there's a reserve fund requirement.
Yeah, I don't have that known off the top of my head.
You're good. The only reason I ask is last year we set the mill levy at 25, continued the previous year, even though the AV went up, and with such an increase in AV this year, I know your initial budget has us still continuing a mill levy of 25. I would almost be more interested in, can we ratchet down that mill levy? I know we're taking up the bond payment by $15,000, but with the increased AV,
you could not. And the reason I would tell you could not is your payment next year, your scheduled payment, roughly 400, let's call it 400. Right? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, we're just going up 15,000 on the bond payment. We're going down on interest, but we're going up on the bond payment by 15,000.
Correct. Your payments are roughly level, but if you look at the total amount of that bond interest and principal payment versus what your property tax revenue are, you're under collecting what you should be collecting. You're collecting less than your actual P&I payment.
Okay, it's just, all right, let me take a bit more time to look at that because, yeah, normally this was going to be the second year that we haven't been able to adjust that down. We've started much higher originally. The goal was that we would originally ticket this down, especially as AV goes up. The goal is that this can kind of adjust. That's why I'm looking at the ending fund, still staying at 341. I mean, that's still quite a cushion to have for
Yeah,
a
but
bond payment.
your balance, the ending fund and beginning fund balance don't come into that equation, Director Manley. You would have, and I could just about guarantee in your bond covenants, there's a requirement that you levy enough to cover that coming year's bond payment.
Is there, in the payments piece of it though, what is it every 2 years that we're increasing for principal?
Yeah, well, your AV is on an odd number year. They do a new assessed valuation for all districts.
Oh, that's the AV. No, I'm talking about the bond principal payment. Is like, so what does our payment schedule look like as far as that's increasing? Because I thought we were static.
They should remain fairly constant throughout the term. You'll have variation a little bit each year, but it's a fairly constant bond amortization. Your P&I are roughly the same each year. They're serial bonds, so it is possible you'll have one year with another 20,000 or 30,000 in bonds that are redeemable that year, but that'd be about the max.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be the.
I could pull up that AM schedule again if you would like me to.
Would you be able to word to me when you have time? Nothing right now, just if you get a chance, because I know we cannot pay it off early. That was the other piece, is as much as we want to pay off early as possible, we know we can't do that either.
You should be able to pay the bonds early.
There would be some amount of time. You're correct.
You would have
a penalty. But yes,
Yeah, there's a no call feature, and you are that's different from not being able to pay the bonds off early.
Okay.
They should be callable.
Oh, so when we go in 2030 to 2034, we get quite a jump in principal payment.
Well, no, you're looking at 500,000 a year, give or take. Let's call it 475,000 a year in payments.
That's over 4 years, Jason.
Yeah, this is a 4-year cumulative.
Sorry, it's late and I'm tired.
No, sir, no problem.
Okay.
And if we leave it, then we won't be in a negative. It's actually better to leave it than it is to take it down.
Yeah, you can't collect less than your scheduled bond payment. And that's what you'd be doing. Yeah, you're barely covering your bond payment as it is here. And so to do that, we're also figuring a certain amount of SO taxes to help sweeten that up.
Makes sense.
And then I mentioned earlier that transfer into the capital projects fund, again, purely up to you as a board, but it is a transparency move is what we're trying to do. So we would show that transfer in from the general fund. There are no expenditures budgeted, so you would end in that capital projects fund with that 450,000. So that's where it's accounted for in your budget. This is a whole new sheet for you and a whole new fund for you that you've not seen before.
Is this where we would account for the reserve study, the money needed to replace or repair any assets?
Exactly. That's exactly what would run through the capital projects fund, because those are long-term assets. And that's what we would look at, is something that has a useful life beyond just 10 years once you've constructed it. So that, directors, for District 1 is the budget presentation for you. If there are questions that you have, please let me know of those. Otherwise, I'll move into District 2's presentation.
Hey, Dave, I'd like to have some time to double check the bond documents about any reserve requirements and make sure we're hitting that. So I just wanted to raise that now since that came up in the conversation, but we'll need a little bit of time to check the indenture and see what that number is.
You do have time, Jeff, because I'm working through with District number 2 now.
Yeah.
Understood. Yes.
David?
Yeah.
District 2 is affected by the 5.25%. Why is
Yes,
District
sir.
1 not impacted by that?
District number 1 does not have new construction that's excluded from this. So if you look at their total revenue, they are coming in, and it's on the general fund only, Director Match. It's not on debt service fund.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's exactly 5.25% growth. I did that math earlier.
But for district number 2, let me pop that up and you'll see why yours looks a little bit different. For district number 2, same layout as we go through all of this, directors. There is a difference, though, in the way we're presenting your AV and your mill levies. And again, we can thank our friends in the legislature. Your preliminary AV is $16,025,420. That includes new construction of $1,250,960,000. The reason that's important is the legislature last summer passed a bill passed a law that says you cannot raise revenue by greater than 5.25% per year. So that 5.25% would be on 14,774,460 because you're allowed to take out the new construction. So that is based on that 5.25% growth is based upon this. Whatever that mill levy becomes, we're able to then charge that same mill levy on new construction. It allows you to reset your base when you have new property coming in. You're still capped at 5.25% growth for the existing, but then that whatever that mill levy equates to is new revenue, additional revenue that you're able to assign. That's why yours shows a little bit differently than you've seen in the past, and why yours looks a little different from District 1, because you actually have new construction coming on, and you probably will for another 2 years after this, if not longer. Based upon that 5.25% cap on the 14,774,460, your mill levy has to be reduced to 24.049 mills.
Yeah.
And then the debt service fund, we're keeping the same at that 64.282. Jeff and Joan, I did just now realize I've got to go back and take a look and see if we've adjusted for the assessment ratio change by the legislature. If we haven't done that, we will adjust the mill levies for debt service based on the assessment ratios. This brings, directors, our property taxes. You would be looking at 30,000 less in revenue if we were not able to bring in that general fund separate and aside from that 5.25. So here's what your total revenues for next year are at $1,415,541.
Mm-hmm.
Questions on what I've just explained on this sheet? For your general fund for next year, I'm sorry, let's go through the same way I did with District 1. 2025, for your adopted budget, you'll notice that you had total expenditures of, let me get down to it, $357,955. We expect your total expenditures will exceed that. And I would suggest that a budget amendment to 425 would make sense for you for the general fund. Again, I just like to deal in the whole numbers rounded to the nearest 25. So that's what I'm going to ask you as a board to consider is a budget amendment for the general fund to 425,000. Your ending fund balance, assuming this worst case scenario I try to model, we're looking at 170,000 for you for next year as your beginning fund balance. And for 26, that's what we show then for your beginning fund balance. I have your property tax revenue coming in. I have your SO taxes coming in, a little bit of interest income. The service and facilities fees for District Number 2, and then that same amount for clubhouse rentals and rental cleaning fee collections as we just showed for District Number 1. Your expenditures for next year, again, I'm assuming a much more normalized year. So we're looking at hopefully pretty nice reductions. The only piece that is not a substantial reduction over where I expect we'll probably finish the year is legal fees, because we still have some legal work being done actively in the carriage homes area. For the shared operations and maintenance, as I told Director Manley a few moments ago, these numbers match up with what District Number 1's shared operations and maintenance expenses are. For clubhouse operations, these match up. For pool operations, these match up. Here's our Tabor Reserve. And then just like I explained to District Number 1, Directors Kaufman and Matchis and I, with Caitlin, sat down and we came up with the same process for you to transfer into a capital projects fund $230,000. I won't go into the explanation again for you. I think you've all heard that, but this is hopefully something that creates that transparency for you. That leaves an ending fund balance for District Number 2 of $10,670. For your debt service fund, we show the tax revenue coming in for next year. We have the SO taxes that would be coming in for next year. And then a small piece of interest income. Hopefully that's about right for next year. We have our scheduled bond payment and interest payment for next year. And that leaves you $1,796,170 as an ending fund balance in your debt service fund.
Right.
And then we've created, as I mentioned, for District Number 1, a whole new bond or a whole new fund for you, which is your capital projects fund. We show that $230,000 coming in next year. We don't show any expenditures budgeted for next year. What we're looking at for next year is another year for both districts of sort of a Band-Aid approach. We're looking to do some deck sealing by the pool, which we've been advised is fine for next year as long as we get that done. But we're more than likely looking at a new deck the following year. And so these funds would remain in here and would just roll into the following year when we start having expenditures too. Director Kaufman, Director Matchis, since you guys were so instrumental in the preparation of this, any additional color you want to provide to the D2 board or to the public?
Well, maybe a few points. Hopefully the 230 or whatever gets moved in is segregated or separately accounted for in C-safe to earn interest. Additionally, the accounting descriptions, the names would be changed to what we agreed to, operations management and shared operations and management, things of that nature. And if you could put the debt fund back up. Is that the debt fund?
Stand by, let me get that for
Oh,
you.
you got it up. The reason
the debt fund.
you actually had the right schedule.
Yep, here you go.
Yeah. We have significant requirements to retain balances in senior reserve fund and reserve funds, which is why these numbers are high. And hopefully we're earning sizable interest on monies that are in these funds at UMB. And I think those are the three major things.
The one thing I do want to just provide a little clarification again would be on this 230,000. You had mentioned the Colo Trust interest or the CSAFE interest. And directors for District 1, the response is the exact same for you. This amount that will be transferred at the end of next year. It won't be transferred prior to that. We'll transfer available funds
Right.
up to that 230,000 into this. So all of these funds for 2026, 230,000 for District 2, 450,000 for District 1, will continue to earn interest that will be put into the general fund for 2026, because they will not be residing in, it's a timing issue. They will not be residing in that capital projects fund until later in the year.
Just an operational question, David, on that.
Yes, sir.
So will this be a new CSAFE account, and would it be a joint account between D1 and D2, or would it be a D1 net new CSAFE account and a net new D2 CSAFE account?
Great question. You will not have any joint accounts. It will remain in the existing CSAFE account and will account for it through allocation.
Okay, makes sense.
Right.
Directors for District 2, any additional questions from you on what I've presented to you? Okay, then what I would like to do, Jeff, have you had a chance to look up your questions, sir?
Yeah, Dave, going as fast as I can.
Okay.
Like many things, it's a little more complicated because there is a required reserve amount, but the district also has a reserve insurance policy. So I'm reading them together at the moment. So I'll have an answer shortly. But one thing I did double check, since it got brought up about the 5.25 growth limit. The general fund revenue shown on the D1 draft budget for 26 is capped at the 5.25% growth limit. But the mill levy, the 25.488, I think it actually needs to be a little bit lower. The 25.488 is the non 5.25% mill levy.
Right.
I did my math quickly. I think the mill levy ends up being 24.262. That's what generates the 437,279.
Okay, let me.
Everybody can check my math while I read this other document here.
Let me just open the
But I
budget.
think I got that one right here. Yeah.
Let me open that
And I
spreadsheet.
think I'm going to have an answer on the reserve fund very soon.
And David,
Yes, sir.
you actually, I think you have one more schedule to do on D2.
Yes, we have the carriage homes as well. So let me continue on to that one for you. For the carriage homes, we are looking at not having, so for this year, we estimate that we will finish the year about 10,000 in the hole with the carriage funds, a $10,000 deficit. We will need total expenditures for that carriage fund or that special revenue fund. You had budgeted 110, and we expect that you're going to have total expenditures of 150. So I would suggest, again, just sticking with even 25 increments, that we amend that budget to 175,000. With that said, we do expect that you'll probably be underwater by 10,000 if those expenditures are correct. Meaning next year you'll start the fund in a deficit of 10,000. We don't show any revenue coming in for the district home, the carriage homes district fees for next year. And I know that's something that Joan will be prepared to discuss with you as a board later on in the meeting this evening. Correct, Joan?
Yes, but so the district isn't anticipating expenses in the carriage home budget for 2026, but it will have revenue coming in until the deficit is paid off. That's the intent.
And so directors to zero out that 10,000 beginning fund balance, we contemplate a transfer from the general fund of 10,000, and that will be backfilled by continuing to build the carriage home fees until that 10,000 or whatever actual is, where I'm forecasting here, but we'll use actual figures for 2026. Whatever this deficit is for 2025 is what we'll continue to collect until that deficit is eliminated. Questions on the carriage homes budget? Okay. So directors, I'm going to tap dance for a moment and give Jeff a moment extra, unless Jeff, you want me to keep tap dancing?
I got it. I went. That was the fastest I've ever gone. Here's the answer. D1 bonds are required. So Dave, you want to throw if you throw the debt budget fund up for 26. There we go. Great. And you put the debt fund up, it'll make sense here. Ending fund balance. Let's just call that our reserve fund. The district is required to have a reserve fund. And I'm going to say this number, and everybody's going to say, "Oh, geez, that's not our number." But let me explain it. It's required to have a reserve fund of $556,200. However, the district can satisfy a portion of that reserve fund through bond insurance, which it purchased at the time it issued the 2020 bonds. So what happened? So the district has reserve fund insurance. It's called a reserve fund guarantee of $278,100. So the district is only required to have cash in the other half, which is $278,100. So we meet our reserve requirements through the cash that we have, plus through the insurance that was obtained at the time the bonds were issued. This could be reduced down if we wanted to take it down to, I think, 278,100. But we're slowly ratcheting it down each year. If we look at 24 and 25 and 26, we've left the mill levy flat. So it might be a good way to handle it and just slowly eat up a little bit of that extra over time, as opposed to trying to do a big drop and then maybe needing to raise the mill levy again in the future when AVs change.
Now your balance is dropping about 25,000 a year. Look at your 2024. You ended at 387. You'll finish this year at 362. Next year at 341. So you are dropping, give or take, 25,000 a year.
Yeah. So at that rate, we probably have a couple more years where we can do the 25 mils roughly and make the payments. And then once we get down to around $280,000, we'll have to make sure the debt service mill levy generates, with SO taxes, generates what we need to make the debt service payments. So we're good for this year, for 26 as presented, if we want the punchline.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Yeah.
And we just have to hope for continued AV growth. So directors, I'm going to put the agenda back on the screen because I'm going to do a number of things all at once to keep us moving along. When you look on the agenda, you'll see F, which is the public hearing to consider the amendments to the 2025 budgets. G, which is the public hearing on the proposed 2026 budgets. And then H, which is to have us prepare the 2027 budget for you and set the date for the 2027 budget hearing to be November 4th of next year. So presidents of both boards, what I'd like to do is open the public hearings for the public to comment on the proposed budget amendments for 25 or the proposed budget for 2026. If there's anybody who'd like to address the boards, doesn't matter which district you're in, please feel free to come off of mute and let me know. Hearing nothing from the public on this call, I think we can close the public hearings for both of those items, F and G. Directors for both districts. For District 1, for letter F, the budget amendment, we're looking for a budget amendment in the general fund of $475,000 for District 2. We're looking for a budget amendment in the general fund to $425,000. And in the Carriage Homes Fund or the Capital Projects Fund, the special fund, we're looking for a budget amendment to $175,000. If there are any questions you have on that, let me know of those. For the 2026 budgets, if there are any questions you have on those, let me know. If not, then I would entertain from D1 first the motion for F and G to adopt the resolution, and H to set the budget hearing for next year to be November 4th at 6 p.m.
I'll motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. And I would ask Director Baca, Director Manley, and the directors in District 2 who have not yet asked for the motion, if we can make this motion subject to final AV receipt. What we may have to do is a slight variation to the mill levy. If the AV comes in and it's reduced or it's increased, we'll have to make adjustments to that mill levy to meet that. So our goal will be to keep the same revenue that you're showing and you're approving this evening. It may just be a tinkering once AV comes in if there's a variation. Is that all right, Director Baca, with your motion?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. Director Manley, is that all right with your second?
Yes, sir.
And just so you all know too, that's actually built into the resolution.
Thank you,
Even
Jeff.
better.
You write your resolutions.
But I love
better.
it.
You
It's
write
great
yours
to bring
better
it up.
than some.
The fact that it might look slightly different in the end.
Thank you, sir. So directors in District 1, I have a motion and a second for F, G, and H. Are there any opposed?
I'm opposed to G. You seem to have worked with D2. D2 and I and Chris worked on budget proposals. I submitted the budget for D1 to you, never heard from you, never got a response from you. Yet you reached out and talked with D2. And so very little of the budget that we worked hard on was taken into consideration or even responded to.
Director first, Directors Matchis and Kaufman reached out to me and asked if we could have a conference. So that's the reason District 2 and I had the discussions. The budget that you sent over was sent over prior to our sending that October 15th budget to you. So you've had 2.5 weeks to review the budget that we sent over to you. The budget that you sent was not a proper format for a budget. You were combining a couple of different things that really are not budgetary. You were mixing in balance sheet items, for example, into budgets. So what we did is we put together that budget and sent that out to you as required on October 15th. Having not heard from you any concerns with that, I assumed we were good to bring that budget into this evening's hearing. If there are changes you'd like to be made to that budget, now would be the time to let me know of those. But you do have to have a budget passed by December 15th. So if we don't get this concluded this evening, we'll either continue the District 1 meeting for a few days from now, or we'll have to schedule a special meeting to happen sometime before December 15th. It's certainly up to you as a board how you want to proceed with that. If there are specific changes you'd like to see made, though, please let me know of those. If we can get that addressed this evening to get this approved this evening, that would be preferential.
No, I sent you over the budget we worked on, and your response, and we sent ours before you sent yours. And when you sent yours, it had very little to do with what we sent you.
Yes, and that's because your budget was unrealistic, Director Davis. We have to have the budgets match up. So District 1 and District 2 for shared expenses, we have a realistic budget put together, and those are all shared expenses. There's really no room for you to make a change to those shared expenses because they are shared expenses. Landscaping is what landscaping is. Snow is what snow is. So those are set. I think that your expectations for legal expenses, management, accounting, covenant control, all the rest of that was not realistic. But if you want to adjust those to a different level, tell me what you want adjusted now, and we will make those adjustments now. You did have till after the 15th of October to see what it was we put together. So if there was something in your budget that you thought was not being captured in the budget being presented tonight, you've had 2.5 weeks to let me know about that.
And you had a couple of weeks before that to let me know what was unrealistic.
Director Davis, it's not my job to call you and tell you that the budget you sent me is unrealistic. I put together a draft budget and send that to you based upon the numbers that you had. But what you sent over truly was not a budget.
I went off of exactly what was presented last year. So I won't approve it.
Okay.
I just want to say, can I just say something, please, right now? The
Yeah.
budgets can be amended. If you've been sitting on this board for as many years as we have sat on this board, if things change, they can be amended. You are arguing with professionals who have done this for several years. Unless you have an accounting background, I ask you, please, can you stop wasting the time of management and our money, and let's move on?
So the question, Director Davis, what would you like changed? And I'm happy to put that back on the screen for you, and you can let me know what you would like to have changed.
There's several things, David, and it goes back to the budget I presented. So
okay, I'm not going to go
We
back
can-
and forth with you in circles, Jim. If there's
Okay.
something specific you want changed, you have the budget. We can make that change. This is the format. The question is what numbers you would like to see added or deleted or revised.
And just to jump in for a second, I think we're on a motion and a second. I think to do the 25 amended and approve the 26 budget. So
We are, Jeff, but this is the
Yeah.
discussion. After the
Yeah.
motion is made and the second is made, this is the discussion that gets to happen. And Director Davis, by Robert's Rules of Order, is properly making a discussion point here.
No, well, we can continue the discussion.
You have the whole board here. We are all here. We are all here to discuss it. Let's discuss it. Put it on the table like you're supposed to with the board.
I presented the budget, and I'm sure you've got a copy of it. So
Director Davis, what you sent is not a budget. I'm giving you a budget. If you want to make a change to this budget, please let me know. Otherwise, we're not going to go back and forth this evening. What I will do is I will schedule a special meeting, or we'll continue this meeting. But we're not going to waste any more time this meeting.
I don't want to waste any more time either. So continue.
Fair enough.
But
So
this
I
is
have
the
a
thing,
motion.
is his emails and scheduling additional meetings and doing all this is costing us additional money. So if you want amendment, put it out right now.
No,
Okay, so
This is the
Director
issue
Baca,
people
I
have
have a
with you.
motion from you. Director Manley, I have a second from you. Are there any opposed to E, F, and G?
yes,
Yes.
Okay. Good enough.
So-
Then I will schedule another meeting. Directors for District Number 2.
Hey,
Uh,
Dave,
Yes,
just to
Jeff.
jump in, I mean, they could be split. I don't know if there's an issue with the 25 amended budget. Perhaps that could be voted on individually.
All right, motion to ratify or to amend the 25 budget as presented by district management.
And I'll second that.
Sorry, David.
Yeah, Jeff, it doesn't matter. We're going to have to come together again anyway.
Yeah, I know. Just trying to minimize our
Directors for
additional
District
items.
Number 1, do I have a motion and a second to adopt the amended budget and also to set the date for the 2027 budget hearing? Are there any opposed to that? Okay. Directors in District Number 2, you've had your budget presented. Is there any discussion you'd still like to have regarding the proposed 2026 budget, the proposed 2025 budget amendment or the proposed 2027 budget hearing? If so, please let me know. Hearing none, then I could take a motion and a second to adopt those two resolutions and set the date, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Director Gonzalez, and a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Director Toma. Are there any opposed? Directors, let me get back on the agenda on the screen for you. You'll notice on the agenda, our next item is to give you an update on pool repair projects. Charlie is working with a couple of different contractors to try to get a proposal on the deck repairs, those temporary repairs that should get us through, as we're being told, at least another year, if not two, before we have to do an actual redecking of the pool. So I don't have those proposals this evening, but we are continuing to work on obtaining those. For the 2026 pool services, for the certified pool operator, the lifeguard, and the monitor, we have a couple of different proposals. We're analyzing those. I will send those out to you via email once we have effectively a bid tabulation on the lifeguard versus the monitor. Director Davis was very helpful in that process and provided a good contact for a pool monitor service. And so the problem we're working on now is making sure that we're looking at apples to apples, making sure that the hours worked are the same in the proposals, because that's where we're a little bit off still. And Deanna, I believe, is on with us still. If there are questions for an update, we can ask Deanna. Otherwise, though, I anticipate being able to email that out to you within the next month or so. We should have that all wrapped up for approval at the first meeting next year or second meeting next year. There's certainly no rush for you to worry about that anyway.
One quick question, David. I know there's a CPO
Yes,
piece
sir.
of it, but for lifeguards, we've traditionally used YMCA. Is
Yes,
Deanna
sir.
also, is she also looking at other lifeguard avenues that might be available, like providers? Or are we just only pulling or pricing from YMCA so far this year or next year?
I think we've only reached out to the YMCA. Deanna, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I only reached out to the YMCA.
Okay. If you guys are amenable to it to save cost to the district, I'm more than happy to reach out to the additionals to kind of use our previous YMCA contract to see A, if there are any other service providers out there, and B, try and get that, and then Deanna, give it to you to put into your deck, and then any vetting that we need to happen with it as well. But instead of wasting district finances to search it down, I can take that on as time allows.
That'd be perfect, Director Manley. Thank you. And as long as they can meet the requirements that we have and the insurance requirements is a big piece.
Oh, yes, sir.
I'm sure Jeff will tell you. So as long as they meet that, we're happy to include them in the mix and just add another line into that bid tab.
Yep. Perfect. I will.
That'll be helpful. Thank you.
That.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see for CPOs. How many CPOs have we reached out to? If you don't mind me asking.
I think we've reached out just to the same one because of the familiarity. If you want us to get some additional, we will certainly do that too.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, you guys have known me for a long time. Julio has treated us as a community very well, so I just didn't know if we had any additionals in there or not, but no, he has my trust.
Good enough. Thank you, sir. Directors, under operations matters, and this is for both districts because the appointment would be from both districts. For the landscape committee, directors, I sent you an email earlier today that included the names of 3 individuals who are interested in serving on the landscape committee. And I also sent you the names of 1 individual who was interested in serving on the pool committee. Included with those names, I sent you their full emails in case they're on the phone. I want to make on the meeting tonight. I want to make sure they know what I did. Sent their full email, unedited and complete, to all of the directors, so they were able to see your expression of interest in serving on the landscape committee or on the pool committee. Directors, with those 3 names that you had on the landscape committee, were there any motions that you would like to make? And we'll start with district number 2 this evening, since you always feel like I let you take short shrift on these things. Are there any names that you would like to move forward to serve as the resident on the landscape committee? Fair enough. Then we'll leave that open until next month. For the pool committee, I have just the one name that was submitted. And are there any motions, directors in district number 2 to appoint that individual to the pool committee? Fair enough. Then we will defer both of those items until the next month's the next agenda and bring those up for discussion again. Directors in district number 1, we have Jeff, do you want to discuss the letter from the town of Erie regarding the board vacancy?
Can we go back up and have D1 speak on the
Landscape and pool.
pool and landscaping committee?
I don't think it's necessary, Director Davis. If I don't have any interest in district number 2 in any of those candidates, I don't see where we're going to be able to proceed.
Well, what I wanted to suggest is that since the IGA hasn't been ratified for for these committees, I suggest that we ratify it so that there's all 3 of them that want to volunteer for the committee. The committee should be all residents. I'm not sure why there's this push to have a board member on there, but if the committees are reporting to the board on the expenses that they see need to be done, it should be all residents.
Gotcha. That's a good point. Then Jeff, Joan, would you kindly give some direction here?
I'm not totally following. The joint committee resolution was approved and adopted by the boards. I'm pulling it up right now in May of this year.
It wasn't
So what it
included in
calls
any of
out is who's on the committees, and it's a couple folks from each board plus a resident at large from these district boards. So they are all Erie Highlands folks,
Yeah.
but maybe there's something else that's out there.
The thought behind it was not to have so many people, so we didn't have so many hands in the pot was the idea. So there was going to be one resident from D1, one resident from D2, along with people who are already on the board. That was the idea behind it. David, can you tell me, because I didn't see there, what residents that are on that list are they D1 or D2? I know Chloe's D1 because she lives down the street from me, but the other ones, besides Aaron Young, I don't know the other 2. Are they D1 or D2?
Well, Tony,
good question, and I don't know either.
Yeah, and then it changed the resolution when we did it. It was one resident at large, so the D1
Okay.
resident, D2 resident. So yeah,
Okay, so it wouldn't matter. Yeah, okay, I got it.
So David, was there? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm fine with having, if all 3 wanna be on, I'm fine with that. I think more the merrier. I just want it to be something that's I want this community to be as involved as possible. And so the fact that we have 3, I thank you all. That's awesome. And I just didn't know if we were voting on a D1 or if this is solely D2.
It's not solely D2. It's one at-large resident who's representing Erie Highlands Metropolitan Districts numbers 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So if we have only one that's on there right now, which is Chloe, why don't we just go ahead and assign her to that board? Why are we waiting to do it the next meeting?
I agree.
So part of it, so you're correct, Tony. So for poll committee, it's easy. I think the bigger piece is we actually haven't assigned board members to any of these boards.
Right.
And I have a feeling with the way that the current makeup of the D1 board is, there will be no governing piece to push and get that ratified easily. Just reading tea leaves there. So I would recommend once the additional board member gets set to this board and we're no longer in D1, it's no longer to split, then it can be done that way. It allows for those boards not to just have a resident sitting in the winds, because right now what will happen is the resident will get there, they'll probably end up sitting in the winds, and there'll be no. The goal is the board members should be the ones working, setting the cadence for meetings, working on what the actual, hey, this is what the project like our charter as a committee looks like, what our roles to look like, and kind of going from that.
Well, and it's winter time, so it's not that big of a deal. So yes, okay. Move
Well,
on.
and
I'm sorry.
well, and David, if we're gonna stick to just like having to pick one person, I mean, I'm all for having three. I think the part that I was struggling with when asked for a nomination on the three is all I have is three names. So I mean, I don't know, I don't want to just pick the one name that I recognize. I mean, I don't know if there was any request for additional information like, hey, why do you want to be on this board type of thing. But it'd be good to just have at least a little bit more info before, just getting a few names and then having to pick one.
Why don't we sit down as a board and come up with some questions that we can
Yeah.
ask them, send them that email, and then decide, because that way we do know like the reason they want to be on there, and just make sure it's a genuine. I agree with that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, that was the thing, is I'm like, I recognize one of the names on here. I mean, but I don't want to just pick that person just because I don't know who the other two are. So.
Right. So yeah, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and just table that. I just was trying to save time and not having another thing on the next meeting.
Sure.
So let's table that till the next time, and sorry.
I would like to just add a couple words from me too. Having three people volunteer from the community for, what was that, the landscape committee? Or
yes, ma'am.
What sounds wonderful. I was put off by Jason's words saying that he didn't want arbitrary whims of those living in the community to have any say. That's why.
When did you hear that, Chris?
In March, through an email.
Email?
Yes.
Are you sure? Can you provide that arbitrary whims?
Not tonight.
Arbitrary whims of the community.
I will say personally, the reason we pay a third party is to ensure fair and unbiased decision making, and not arbitrary whims of those living in the community.
And let's put that in context, Chris. That is for covenant control.
May I talk?
You're misconstruing things, so I'm clarifying for you, Chris, because you were trying to misconstrue things.
Director Manley, I'm going to let
Jason.
Director Phileas speak, and then you'll have a chance to respond.
Yeah.
Director Phileas, please.
Thank you. My thought was, yes, if there are members of the community that wish to participate in this, it's wonderful. We need people in the community to feel that they own this community and that they're part of it. So the way I read the rules is that we would have 2 board members from D1, 2 board members of D2, and only 1 resident. And that just doesn't seem to be right to me. So if we had 5 members of the community, they can't make any decisions. It has to come to the board anyway. So obviously we don't have 5 for each, but that's how I feel about it. That we should have as many residents as want to be on there, can be, not as many, but that would fill our group. Enough. I'm sorry for losing my head.
It's no problem.
Thank you, Director Phileas. Director Manley, do you want to speak as well?
I would love to add some context into this. So it sounds like what Chris is concerned about is, once again, covenant control. The landscape committee is set to oversee the public landscaping pieces that Erie Highlands owns. It has nothing to do with individual homes, landscaping, or plot, or anything along those lines. The landscaping committee oversees where trees are going to be replaced, when bushes are going to be done, when mulching is going to be done in the public areas, to come up with the 1-year, 3-year, and 5-year plan of how the community is going to handle the public landscaping. It has nothing to do with individual homeowners' landscape or reviewing anything for the ARC or sign off on anything along those lines. So that is the whole reason that's there. You need a group that is concise, that can work together, that is not a lot of cooks in the kitchen coming up with that piece, but a team that can actually work on a concise plan. So I do agree, having multiple people involved would be great, but look at just the 4 of us. We can't even agree now. What happens when that grows to 7, 8, 10 in a committee that is supposed to be engaged in what the actual plan for public landscaping is?
I believe that well, first of all, words were put into my mouth by you. You assumed you knew what I was aiming for at the time, which was not ever true. And we could have discussed it quite simply. And I believe members of the community can be reasonable. We've been a reasonable group for quite some time until a certain point where someone decided that wasn't going to be anymore.
You say you've been reasonable, Chris, but you can't even take in minutes. You can't approve minutes. You can't do anything without Jim's direction. You don't work independently.
So
It's okay.
Jim,
We're going to move on from this piece. Let's move forward. But
who
yes,
sends everything out via Facebook that's highly edited and highly illegal? I think we should just stop.
The
this
full
right
meetings are there, Chris. You
All
think
right,
everything's there, but
directors,
it's not.
I'm going to interrupt because we're
Thank you, David.
discussing the committee. Now you're venturing off into stuff that really is not agenda based on either the landscape or the pool committee.
David,
Thank you, David.
can you do me a favor? And the only reason I didn't think it was ratified, because I couldn't find any emails or signed off documents, but I looked on the website and the only IGA on the Erie Highlands website is the cost sharing agreement. That's the only IGA listed.
Yeah, the resolution, the committees are created by a joint resolution, not an agreement. And I do have a copy of the executed resolution, so I'm happy to circulate that. And then related to that, if there's a desire to change the composition of the committees, this resolution and the committee composition, that was decided by the boards. If D1 and D2 want to change that, add more residents or less board members, you can do that, right? The resolution and the committee composition is very much in the discretion of the board on who's on it and how that works.
My only suggestion was because the board members are already, they're members of the community, they're on the board already. If there's an opportunity to allow residents to have a say-so on particular things, I think the more the merrier. I think that it should be up to three residents on each committee, and the board members, and the board members can provide guidance, but at least give inputs to residents.
So Jeff and Joan, let me ask if you can prepare an amended resolution that we will include on the agenda at the next meeting and leave blank then what the composition is and let the board have a determination and a joint conversation at the next one, but we'll have an amended resolution ready for them. Would that work for you both?
Yeah, we can put together a framework of a revised resolution, leave some blanks in there, and then the board can talk about how they want the committees to look like going forward.
And Director Davis, does that address what you're asking for? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
I'd just like to add one comment that the larger the committee is, especially for volunteer committees, the more difficult it is for the committee to meet and actually get things done. So I think the directors need to keep that in mind. And it's important to have board members on the committee because you understand how the district operates and the district's budget. So it's important that the directors guide the committee in what its function is and yeah, how the committee and the district operate.
Thank you, Joan. So directors, we're going to move on to the next item. The next item is C under operations matters. I'm not sure exactly how it became operations matters, Jeff, and how that didn't slip into legal matters, but I think that we can both take Haley to task for that one.
No, we were just trying to stick it on you.
Yeah, I'm afraid you were. Directors, as you know, in District 1, there is a board vacancy. Jeff received a letter from council for the town of Erie. Jeff, I'll ask you to discuss that with the board, then I will discuss the director's vacancy and the interest that has been expressed in that position after you're through, sir.
Thanks. And the board did get this. And I will pull up the original email also. But basically, the town reached out and asked about whether or not we were going to do a appointment to our vacancy. So on October 15th, they sent a letter to the district, which I forwarded to the board, basically saying that they're giving us their notice under the statute. They have to give us 30 days before they exercise their power to do appointments, that they're giving us their notice, and that if we don't appoint somebody, they will open it up for applications and they will consider making an appointment to the D1 vacancy at one of their meetings, as they're allowed to do by statute. District 1 retains the right to vote and fill that vacancy at any time up until basically the vote at the Erie City Council to make the appointment. So we don't lose our chance to appoint somebody, but the town is aware of the vacancy and has provided the notice to start the process on their end to make the appointment. So that was on October 15th. And in fact, Ms. Carberry, who is counsel for Erie, reached out to me today to find out if there was any updates. So I did let her know that we were meeting tonight and that it was on the agenda. So I will, give her an update. And I did ask her if she could kind of fill me in on what their timeline is, because as of right now, we just have the notice. I don't know what meeting they're planning on doing this appointment. So once I find that out, I'll obviously let you know, but I don't have an answer to that yet. I don't know if they're planning to do it in 2 weeks or in 2 months. I don't know the answer to that yet.
So Jeff, the soonest they could do it would be 11/15, correct? Based on 30-day counter from when they gave us?
Yeah, that's the 30 days plus, whenever they meet. Maybe they meet the 18th, but I have no reason to think they'll do it that fast, Jason. But yeah, they have to wait at least 30 days.
Okay, so their 30-day clock has started, and they could act as soon as the 18th. To that point, it then goes into the second bullet on the on this piece for C, discuss and consider appointments to the vacancy. So, David, did you want to update us? I know you sent the email out of vacancies. Would you want to go over those and what you received?
I'd be happy to, Director Manley. First, let me preface it by saying that you as a board directed me to place on the district's website a notice that the board was interested in receiving communications from any resident in District 1 interested in being appointed to that District 1 vacancy. We did post that the day after the meeting, and we received two people who expressions of interest from two people who were interested, and then we received expressions of support for one of those two people from, and I'd have to open it up. You'd think I could remember it. There were 7 additional emails received in support of one of those names. We have received interest from Josh Malm, and he received emails of support from 7 other people. We received interest from Tony Filius. And finally, I received it's difficult to categorize, and this is why I sent to you directors the full emails unabridged from all interested parties, because we did have Christy Cowers who expressed an interest in supporting Josh, but said if the board chose not to appoint Josh, then she would be interested in serving. So you have 3 names to consider this evening to appoint to that vacancy: Josh Malm, Tony Filius, and potentially Christy Cowers. I'm going to ask Jeff or Haley to discuss a little bit about the potential for appearance of conflict of interest, and if that exists in this case or not, before I then start asking the board for motions.
Yeah, and Dave, I think you're referencing the Tony Filius is obviously, I believe, is Chris's spouse. But there's no prohibition on spouses being on boards together. And generally all the conflict of interest statutes are all related to financial interests and basically getting personal benefit from voting on items on an agenda for which you get a personal financial gain. So in that sense, there's not a true conflict. on spouses being on the boards together or even voting on it. Now, that said, there's always the secondary piece about, well, and I look at it from, there's this legal box of what's the conflict, but there's also the perceptions, right? And what it looks like when people are voting on things that might appear to, just be a conflict, even if it's not a conflict under statutes. And that does come up with related persons being on boards together. So, in some boards I have, when this has come up, people choose to abstain and sometimes they choose not to. So it's really, in the end, up to the director who might feel like they have a conflict or not and what they want to do.
Thank you, Jeff. I wanted to make sure that everything was explained prior to then asking the directors of District 1. You have two names I would suggest to you, and if neither of those two, or if one of those two is not selected, then you have a third name based on the way her interest was submitted to you. Directors in District 1, is there a motion for appointment to the vacancy of one of those two names, please?
I'm in a motion to put Josh Malm back on the board.
Is there a second to that, please?
I will second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and I have a second. Are there any opposed?
Well,
Yes.
can we do a discussion real quick, Dave, before you go into it?
Yes, certainly. I'm sorry, Director Manley. That is proper.
So, as you mentioned, this was at the direction of the board. It does seem interesting that we did receive only two names. It seems that a lot of pressure is going in to say Josh isn't right for the board, but the community has constantly spoken his name and constantly demanding he's been there. You received 7 individual emails, it sounds like, that requested that he be added to the board, on top of all the public comment in previous meetings they received, plus the comments that the town of Erie has received. So other than it being personal bias, I'm not sure why the board would act in such a way to ignore what the community has directly asked for time and time again. This does seem like it is something that the community has been very loud and clear on, and quite frankly, pretty clear in what the expectations are of the community that we support. So I guess I would ask for anyone that would want to say no to this to give a reason as to why. Like, why would you? Who else on that list is worth supporting that's on there?
I would like to speak, and I realize a part of the reason Josh is head of the recall committee, I would say that those emails that were received were not necessarily from independent people, because people that I have spoken with that don't happen to be on Facebook support us, not us, my husband or whatever, but do not want Josh to, it's time for him to retire and just be gone.
So have those people spoken in public comment at all?
Director
about that?
Manley,
Sorry.
please, point of order. We have Director Filius speaking.
Yeah, there was poor notification. Not everybody, they were actually rather surprised that there was going to be an election. So we have not reached out entirely to the entire community. Your Facebook group is extremely well run, and I consider that one voice in the community, not several individual voices.
So you consider 7 direct emails of different people that live in the district as one
Right.
person?
Well, what I consider is that they are all directed via the Facebook group, and that they are people that chose to write, and other people didn't realize that there was a problem and that there was somebody. And
So are you saying they think it's an
just a
email
second.
from?
Director Manley,
Just a
please.
second,
Director
Director
Filius is
Manley.
speaking. I'm sorry, Director Filius. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm interrupting Director Manley until you're done.
Yeah, I apologize, David, for taking so much time with this.
No,
But
ma'am, no
if-
need.
If the rest of the community feels the hatred that the Facebook group has put out to those people being recalled, I can understand why they might not want to put their face forward or their voice forward. So I don't consider the Facebook group as individual unbiased voices, and Josh is the head of that big committee, and he is one who's led many of the Facebook retorts. So, thank you.
Okay, I just want to say something because I'm coming in from a very genuine place here. Josh has served on this board before. It was ran very smoothly. We didn't have the conflicts that we have now. Tony being on the board, there's no reason one household needs to have that much control on that board. And so that is not going, we've already tried that and that failed. So that's not going to happen. When Josh was on this board and still in this community does far more than anybody else. And the other thing I'm going to say about the Facebook page is that is your community. Those are the people that live in this residence. And if they're not on Facebook and the people who don't support him are not on Facebook, then where are they now? There is a meeting going on. Their voices can be heard. There's an open mic for anybody who wants to talk. I am open to hear from anybody in this neighborhood that has something that they want to say. I understand the reason why Jim and Christina are against Josh because he's on the recall committee. He's doing it for a reason. He has done more for this neighborhood than any of us combined. And what I'm going to say is that he's got the knowledge, he's got the experience, he's got the professionalism, because right now it's lacking a lot of professionalism. He's done it. He's got experience. So I don't know why there's such a push because he's on a recall committee. We have to do what's right for these people who live in this neighborhood. If you have people in the neighborhood that don't agree with him, then where are they? These meetings are for this community. If they want to speak up and they want to talk about it, we're here as a board. This is the place to do it. So where are these people? That's what I'm trying to say is we can't keep running around in circles. We can't keep pushing things off. We're spending a lot of money. And I don't know what you think is so funny, Jim, but your smirk on your face is really starting to agitate me. So can you turn off your camera if you can't keep it to yourself? The other thing I'm going to say is you spend so much money of this community, and it has been brought up time and time again. I've had people who personally knocked on my door and asked why Jim is also not on this recall. I just want us to be able to get back on track. You guys are wasting so much money and so much time. You are not being professional at all. Please, 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 please listen to your community. There are not just the recall committee. There are so many other people. And if you don't agree with Facebook, I'm sorry. It's 2025, almost 2026. Get on there and go have a meeting at the clubhouse. Open it up. Have people come talk to you guys. Because you don't want to hear anything except for what you want to hear. And that is not the way the world works. And I get so frustrated, and I'm sorry to the community, but this has got to end. This is ridiculous. We are getting nothing done. This is a volunteer position, and you guys are just running it like you run this community yourselves. It's not the way that it goes. And Josh has experience. He's done this for years. He has the compassion. People in this neighborhood love him. So what is the problem? What is the problem? That's what I want to know. I want to know what the problem is, what problem you all have with him. What is it? Because I don't understand it.
I've got over 17 OML violations by Josh. He's got a conflict of interest. In 2018, when Oakwood came to all the residents and said that the pool and clubhouse were going to cost each one of us money, and there was a big pushback saying that was something that Oakwood promised us as buying into the community, that it was be provided by them. In 2018, Josh made the motion to add $1.5 million of debt to D1 in order to fund the pool and the clubhouse. So he has a big conflict of interest there with the neighborhoods who probably don't know that he's the one that made that motion.
The pool and it was
Hold
funded
on,
by
Jason.
Excuse me,
Hold on,
Jason, I'm
Jason, really
talking.
quick.
And Tanya, I'm talking.
No, but what I'm going to say
I'm
to you,
talking. I
I'm
didn't
sick of
interrupt
hearing
you. I didn't interrupt you. He has a conflict with the House dumping the D1 bonds on us, and he didn't disclose that when he made the motion and he voted to approve it. He has perjury charges pending because he perjured himself, and so did all of the recall committee folks. When they stated wasteful spending, they have not been able to detail any wasteful spending. And whether you say people come and knock on your door and why it's costing all this money, look at the bills. And you'll see that the bills ramped up and they had absolutely nothing to do with anything that Chris and I did.
There are
You know
no
that's a
charges, you
lie.
piece of shit.
Hey, you are now removed from this meeting. I apologize, directors.
That's okay. So, Jim,
Directors, let me do this. Let me move on from this for the moment. We're going to come back to this later in the agenda. I only have a couple of things left on the agenda that District 2 has to stick around for.
I do apologize.
We can get District Director Manley. I'm going to run this meeting. Thank you. Directors in District Number 2, I'm going to get you moved along so that you can leave. There's still quite a bit of business for District Number 1 to conduct this evening, and I don't want you to have to sit through that. For legal matters for the final operations matter for Districts Number 1 and 2, you have in your packet the agreement for the snow maintenance for this winter, as well as landscape services with neighborhood lawn care. Let me note for the record that the agreement that is in the package has been corrected to show it as Districts 1 and 2, because I think there was a reference to District 4 in there. It has also been corrected to include the dog station, the dog waste, in that same agreement. Same price, no change at all in the price. So, Joan, I believe you're the one who put together that agreement. I will have to get you the updated document from Neighborhood Lawn Care to show the dog station maintenance is included in there too. Still, directors, $70,999 spot 92. That amount has not changed. If there are questions on that agreement, I'm happy to hear those. Otherwise, District Number 1, if I could get a motion and a second from you, please.
I just have a quick question, David.
Yes, sir.
I know at the last meeting, Josh had brought up that we should change the call out to 4 inches in the parking lot. I didn't see anything in the writing. Now, if it was buried down in the darkest, deepest details, then I missed it. But I didn't see that where they were not to be shoveling snow in the parking lot unless it was 4 inches or more.
That was a direction that we've made to Hector over at Neighborhood Lawn Care. So he is aware of that.
Okay.
Yes, sir. No, that's a good catch. Is there a motion then from District Number 1 to ratify that agreement, please?
I'll make the motion, and as long as it changes from D4 to D1.
Understood, sir. Understood. And we do have the updated
dog
document.
waste. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I make the motion.
Thank you. In a second, please.
I second.
Thank you. Are there any opposed? District Number 2, is there a motion from you for the same, please?
So moved.
Thank you. In a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any opposed? Joan, we're on to you for discussion on legal matters. We have A and B are both yours. I can enlarge this agenda for you a little if that helps.
Actually, if you could go down to the Exhibit A to the IDES report, which is attached to the bill of sale. I don't have a page number.
Yes, let me open that up.
That's attachment A to that, to their report.
Let's see.
It looks like page 103.
Yeah, you'll have to stand by for me, please. Because I don't, let me open up the full, that packet, because I don't use that. I use the e-packet. So let me open up the other one. which page did you say that was, Director Matchis?
Uh, 103, I believe, 104, special
Perfect.
warranty deeds.
Perfect, thank you. Then let me put that on the screen. I have that ready for you. I'll shrink that down a little. And here you go. At the bottom of that warranty deed is the exhibit.
Okay, let me pull it up. I'm looking for the map that's part of the IDES infrastructure report.
This one. This report?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get to the map there.
Yeah, right here. So what we're asking the board for this evening is to adopt two resolutions. The first one is to accept the transfer of these tracks listed in the legend. So let me back up a little bit. As we know, D2 is still under development. And these tracks shown in the legend are currently owned by Clayton Properties. The Clayton Properties of doing Oakwood has installed infrastructure on these tracks. Some of it is like, if you look at filing 14 tract F, that's actually a drainage pond, but these are common area tracks located within District 2 where Oakwood has completed the infrastructure. It has gone through a 1-year warranty period, and the district's independent engineer, IDES, has gone through the requirements of the infrastructure acquisition resolution and obtained all the information from Oakwood, whether it's as-built, invoices, contract, proof of payments, to make sure that the tracks that the district is accepting tonight have the landscaping and drainage, landscaping, irrigation, drainage, and fencing requirements of the development landscape plans. So IDS and Oakwood have gone back and forth, and Adam Lurie, who might be on this call, has confirmed that everything has been done and the infrastructure is ready to accept. So that the district would be accepting these tracks in 2 steps. The first one is to accept the actual real property by special warranty deed. And then the second resolution is to accept the infrastructure that's been installed on these tracks, the landscaping, irrigation, storm drainage, and fencing. So we can go through the resolutions if you like. They're pretty straightforward, but I wanted to review this map so you could see the tracks that the district is accepting. Are there questions about the tracks, the process, or if you want me to go through the resolutions more specifically? And I guess I would also add that the special warranty deed that Oakwood has provided is in the format that has been approved by the district and used for accepting other infrastructure tracks within the community. And the landscaping resolution has this, or the infrastructure resolution has this report attached to it, which goes through all of the steps IDS took to to verify and certify that these tracks are ready for district acceptance.
Joan, can I ask a question?
Sure.
On filing 15 track A, the red one,
Uh-huh.
isn't the part that runs along from the stoplight up to Highland Circle? I thought that was all part of Metro District 1.
Nope, the district split right there in the middle, turning into that Highlands Drive. So everything in red to the right is D2. Everything to the left is D1. Those have been the boundaries for quite a while.
Excuse me.
All right.
Those pigs here in the middle. Well, I guess they split down the middle.
So directors for District Number 2, you have any questions regarding either of those two resolutions that are shown as A and B under letter B? Now would be a great time to ask those questions to Joan, but if there are none, we could take a motion and a second for you to adopt those resolutions.
I appreciate the work you put into this, Joan. I motion to approve.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And a second then.
Before you
I'll
guys second,
second.
I have a quick question.
I've
what
asked for a second from the District 2 board. Is there a second from the District 2 board, please?
I will.
Thank you, Director Matches. District Number 2, are there any opposed? Thank you. Joan, do you want to provide an update on the request to the town to impose a townhome maintenance fee?
Actually, before we do that, there was another document included in the board packet. It's the IDES memo regarding filing 15 track day.
You expect me just to find all of these things, don't you? Let me find, oh, we're too far now.
It may be at the very, well, we could also stay on the map,
Yeah.
and I can explain what. So I asked Adam to prepare a memo to the board. So this, you may recognize filing 15 track day under the slip and slide designation. So last summer there were at least 2 significant accidents where residents, I believe they were both on bikes, slipped and injured themselves because the sidewalk had become like slimy and slippery because it was constantly underwater. And so the town went out there with Oakwood, which currently own the tract, and Oakwood put in a French drain because there's a drop off between the back lots to the park lawn there. And so Adam researched this pretty thoroughly with Oakwood. The sidewalk was put in by another developer prior to Oakwood putting in any improvements. And the sidewalk is actually a little bit low through that area. So the town accepted those improvements. The sidewalk was not installed by Oakwood. They have made the repairs to fix the drainage off of the backyards abutting it. But I want the board to be aware that if there's a significant rainfall or multiple rainfalls, we have a really wet year, there will likely be standing water on that parkway tract because the sidewalk is too low for that spot. So it's not Oakwood's responsibility to fix that. The town is not going to fix that. But I would like the district to put that in its maintenance budget in the next year or two, because the district is on notice that that's a safety hazard there. And unfortunately, it's the D2's responsibility to correct that situation. I mean, in the meantime, we can direct Charlie or Travis to put cones up or something and close off that section of the sidewalk. If we do have like an ongoing rain event, or the ground is just saturated enough that the water isn't draining off of there for a period of time. But it is a liability for the district that the board is aware of. So we need to decide how and when we're going to fix that. So it's not a discussion for tonight. We can leave that with Dave, but I just want to make sure that we've had that discussion. And the memo from IDES is in your board packet.
So Joan, let me just check in with you if I may, because this is the first I'm hearing of this problem with the walk. I'm going to have Charlie go out, take some pictures for me, and then he and I can sit down to see if there may be some solutions. I've done some work in the past with some dry sumps. I've done some work in the past where we have done some mud jacking and redraining. We'll bore a new drain underneath. So if it's all right with you, I'm going to ask Charlie to take a look with me at that.
Yes, and Tana
Good.
Bouvier, I want to say her last name is. She's a storm drainage specialist, so she would be a good person to consult when you're further down the road.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, we'll check in with Tana Boisvert and Charlie Hogue, two good French named individuals.
Okay, so then moving back up to 7A, the status of the request to impose a maintenance fee in filing 18 on the townhome properties. So we have had several email communications with the town attorney, Kendra Carberry, and the town manager, Malcolm Fleming. And it's really Malcolm's decision to authorize the maintenance fee. And he's come back with a proposal that the district create a completely separate bank account and transfer the portion of the maintenance fee meant for long-term concrete repairs, that it get diverted to a completely separate account. I don't see a problem with that. You know, we'll have to really take a good look at it. But then he basically just needed some more information, or the information provided in a different format. So we've gone ahead and done that. So I also spoke with Chad Rodriguez from Trumark Homes, and they don't expect, I believe it's building permits to be issued until the spring. So we do have several months before this fee needs to be imposed, but we would like to get it addressed, you know, for Trumark as well as the town. So that's the update I have at this point. We're still working on it, and I have a follow-up every week with the town on the status of that. The last item under legal matters for district number 2 is an updated engagement letter from Fritchie Law. So there were 2 significant bills passed in the 2025 legislative session. One was that Bill 1215 that had a significant impact on metropolitan districts. And the other one is House Bill 1090. It was also known as the junk fee bill. And it's a very broad bill addressing consumer transactions. And there is a significant portion of the bill dedicated to landlord-tenant disclosures, but the bill does not exempt law firms or consultants. So my recommendation is to, I added a section in bold on our legal engagement letter using the language required by House Bill 1090. And what they're looking for is the total cost. And I mean, I think in general, special district legal engagement letters are very straightforward and very clear. We bill by the month for the work that we have to do. It varies by month. And we send out pretty detailed monthly invoices specifying what we did. So all I did was I took our engagement letter and I added a section in bold with the language required by House Bill 1090. And from my perspective, it's a little bit of an overkill, but it's also an easy fix.
The directors in District 2, are there questions regarding Joan's discussion on 25-1090? And if not, could I get a motion to approve of the updated engagement letter from Fritchie Law?
So moved.
Thank you, sir. And a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. Directors, are there any opposed? Directors for District Number 2, the only other item for discussion from, and Joan, is there anything else under legal? I'm sorry, before I travel on.
Nope, that's it.
David,
Okay.
can I share screen just 1 minute?
No, you cannot, not at this moment. Thank you. Directors in District Number 2, the only other item we have for District Number 2 is to consider the cancellation of the December 3rd meeting. What I would ask is that you provide the flexibility to Jeff, for District 2, to Joan and me to determine whether or not District 2 needs to meet on December 3rd. And if not, then we can go ahead and cancel that meeting. Is that all right with the District 2 directors? Any opposed to that idea? Excellent. Directors for District 2, unless you want to continue having your meeting for District Number 2, I could entertain a motion for you to adjourn.
May I ask one question of Joan?
Please, Director Matches.
Relative to the townhomes, you say they may begin construction spring of next year?
Yes, but I thought that Director Kaufman told me that they were under construction. So I didn't write down exactly what Chad told me, but I thought he said building permits will be issued in the spring.
All right. Have we said what the system development fee is for that yet?
Yes.
All right. And TrueMark's aware of it?
So TrueMark initiated the process and they engaged Timberline to prepare a budget for a capital reserve for repair.
I'm sorry, I meant at the building permit issue date. We call it a system development fee.
Oh.
Yeah, not the reserve fee.
Yes, they are aware of the system development fee.
Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to follow up on. Thank you.
Okay.
Directors, District 2, anything else? Director Gonzalez, you looked like you were chomping at the bit when I asked for a motion to adjourn. Do you want to make that motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, sir. And is there a second from the District 2 board for District 2 to adjourn? District 1, you're going to remain.
A second.
Thank you, Director Hobbs. District 2, you are excused. I appreciate your patience I wish you all very happy holidays. Look forward to speaking with you next year. If we do not have a meeting on December 3rd, stay well, stay healthy. You are more than welcome to stay on this meeting if you would like to, but there's no requirement that you do so.
Right, thank you.
Directors for District Number 1, we're going to come back up the agenda for you now. And where we left off, District Number 1 was the discussion on the appointment of somebody to the vacancy on the board. And I believe that we had not yet entertained, well, we did have a motion from Director Baca, a second from Director Manley to appoint Josh Mom to that vacancy. I had not yet called for the vote, so let me call for the vote. Directors, are there any opposed to that?
Yes.
I vote
Okay.
no as well. I vote no as well.
Thank you. I have no votes from Director Davis, Director Filius, so that motion fails. Is there a motion to appoint Tony Filius to that vacancy?
I make the motion.
I second.
I
Are
vote
there any
no.
opposed?
Opposed.
I oppose.
Directors, the third person who asked to be considered in the event that Josh Mom was not appointed was Christy Cowers. Is there a motion to appoint Christy Cowers to that vacancy?
I motion for Christy Cowers to be appointed.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second. I'll second it.
Thank you. Are there any opposed?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So we do not have an appointment to that vacancy. Jeff, you can, when we get to the bottom of this, you can advise, but I think what we'll do is continue this meeting rather than having a special meeting called. That would be my preference. Directors, next item we have for you is, let's see, we have under legal matters. Jeff, we have a couple of items for you under legal matters, and I'll let you pick those in the order that you want to pick those off.
Yeah, and I think we moved the recall election item up, is my memory. So we did at the end of the meeting, I think.
We did, yeah. We moved
agenda.
D above C during the amended agenda that Director Manley
Right.
had. That is correct.
Right. So, and everybody, Dave and Haley, feel free to jump in, but quick summary is, and we talked about this at the last meeting, the recall petition for Director Filius was submitted. We as a board talked about and decided to hold a hearing on a challenge to the recall petition and its certification. That was held on October 10th, I believe was the correct date. At that hearing, the main item that was discussed was whether or not the DEO, who's Paula Carrata in Dave's office, had actually had jurisdiction to consider the challenge because of the requirements for how the challenge has to be made under statute. The ruling at the hearing was that it did not meet the statutory requirements to do a valid challenge. And I believe a written determination about that was issued early the next week. Once that happened, there was a period of time in which Paula's decision could be appealed to the Weld County District Court. I am unaware of that occurring. So because of that, the district is now in a position where it needs to adopt a resolution to actually call the election on the recall. So that's what's in your packet today for consideration.
I disagree with you. Based upon the ruling from the town of Erie that they have jurisdiction, then the recall committee filed the petition in the wrong venue. They filed it in Weld County. They didn't file it with the town of Erie.
No, the recall petition is filed with the designated election official for the district, who is Paula, and that was ordered by the Weld County District Court. So it was filed in the correct place.
They filed the original petition with the Weld County courts.
So the way the process works is that the recall committee intervened in the district's court case and followed the statutory process to request that the court appoint a designated election official to run the recall election. The Wells County District Court made that order and appointed Pella as the DEO. So that process was done correctly. Jim, if you're thinking about the who has the authority to do the appointments to the board vacancy, if that's what we're talking about, that's a different animal. So one of them is about the approving authority, which is the entity that approves the district service plan and says whether or not the district can be organized. And that's either the Weld County Board of County Commissioners or the Town of Erie Town Council. But the Weld County District Court, which is a separate entity, they are the court that controls the district's court case and ultimately ordered the election on the organization of the district and issued the order creating the districts when they were organized. So different places for different purposes under the statute.
So if I'm understanding this right, we have to now set a date to send out the ballots for the recall. Am I correct?
Yeah, so what happens next is that at this meeting, the board shall order and fix a date for the recall election that has to be held not less than 75 days, no more than 90 days from the date of this meeting. And
Yeah,
then,
Dave, if you scroll down to the resolution, I did write in the dates that were 75 to 90 days
All right.
from today. If the board wants to know the exact dates.
Done by.
It's January 19th to February 3rd. Just FYI.
Great.
Here's the petition. And here is the resolution.
I think it's on the next page.
Oh,
Yeah, it's actually in a comment.
Yep.
Yep.
The yellow
Yeah.
tab. I like the hello tab. Yeah, tab. Yeah. If you highlight the hello. Yeah, there you go. Dave.
January 19th to February 3rd.
Yeah, so January 21 is in there, not for any reason other than it's within the range. So once the election's called, then there's a process set forth in Title 32 about how the election works. So you would follow those rules, and then otherwise it is run according to the local government election code, which is Article 13.5 of Title I, and then any backfilling by the election code of 1992. So as part of that too, also in your packet to jump around is the certificate of sufficiency and the petitions that were submitted and approved. So you actually have that also. So that's where we are.
So with that, I will go ahead and make a motion to accept the recall election piece as submit or
The resolution.
Thank you.
Yes.
My word. It's been up since 6 a.m. Apologies. So make the motion to accept the recall resolution as presented with the election date of January 21st, allowing DO to perform all the necessary actions to meet those deadlines as necessary.
Is there a second to that, please?
Yes, I'll second.
Thank you. Are there any opposed?
Yes.
Yes.
And then
What dates would you recommend that the recall election happen, Director Davis or Director Phyllis?
What was the question?
What date would you like to have set for the recall election?
Paula said we had no appeal period at all. So I'm still confused as to why some rules are stated by some and others get stated to me. She said we could not appeal. There was absolutely no way.
You cannot appeal to her. That is correct. What date would you like to set the recall election date for, Director Davis or Director Filius?
After the 19th, correct?
It has to be set between January 19 and February 3rd.
February 3rd. What about January 23rd?
January 23rd.
Get to set my own execution date, huh?
So I have a motion from Director Filius to set it for January 23rd. Is there a second, please?
I'll second it.
I have Director Davis on the second. Are there any opposed? So we have a recall election date as January 23rd for your resolution, Haley.
Thank you.
Let me go back on the agenda for the screen here, Jeff.
Thank you. So the next item, now we have the old C and then the E, but I wanted to have us do C first, and then we'd come back in open session and talk about item E. We do have an executive session set up if the board wants to do that, to review the draft letter, which hasn't been presented yet in the board packet. So to take a look at that, and to join us in that executive session is litigation counsel that was provided by the district's insurance company to address those items related to some of the filings that were done at Weld County District Court and with the town of Erie. So if the board wants to jump into executive session to go over the letter and hear any further legal advice from legal counsel, we can do that. If you don't want to do that, then of course we can stay in public session also, but my recommendation would be that we at least go into the executive session and have a chat about that as a board and get legal advice one more time, and then before we come out and actually talk about the actual letter. So if you want to do that, and David, remembering how we do this, if possible, I like to do a recording of the motions to go into executive session, but that would be the end of the recording. And then, did we set up a separate link for the executive session, or are we just going to put everybody in a waiting room?
I'm gonna move everybody into a room,
Okay.
and let me get my list to you. I have all directors. I have Deanna in my office. I have Haley in your office.
Yep.
Maybe I'm missing counsel. Do we have counsel here?
Yep.
For a special counsel?
She hasn't called in yet. I just texted her. It's Tiffany Toomey.
Okay, yeah, and I don't see that she's come in yet. There are a couple that don't have names, but I'm assuming she would identify herself now if that were the case. So what I will do is I will open the room for that executive session once I receive a motion in a second, if you do want to go into an executive session, directors.
So if
Is
we
there a
don't choose to do an executive session, then everybody on the call gets to hear the legal advice and what's going on. Is that correct?
Yeah, and again, legal advice is for the benefit of the board. I think it would be a benefit to do that in executive session.
I'll move
but
for a
again,
motion to go into executive session.
I'll second it.
Do I have any opposed?
Well, hold on one second. Sorry,
Yes.
Tony. I do need you to make a motion to go into executive session. If you could be so kind as to read the entire item that's on the agenda for why we're going in, that's part of the requirements.
So this right here, the highlighted section is what and I have Tiffany has come in now too, so I will add her.
So the part C, so I put a motion for executive section pursuant to section 24-6-402 4B CRS for the purpose of receiving legal advice on legal questions related to 1, filings and potential claims against the district.
I second it.
Thank you. Are there any opposed? Okay, I will record, mark for the record that we are going into executive session at 8:49. I will be sending you all a link to get. We are now out of the executive session. Jeff, the next item we had on the agenda was to approve a letter to be filed with the Weld County District Court in response to the Jim Davis filing. Will we be deferring that item this evening, but giving direction to legal counsel to proceed based on the discussion on legal strategies during the executive session?
That's correct.
Thank you. Then directors, that takes us to the end of this agenda for this month. Based upon additional research, there really would not be an advantage to the district continuing this meeting versus calling either a special meeting, waiting till the December 3rd meeting for discussion and final vote on adoption of the budget. If we have the meeting on December 3rd, Jeff, if you would kindly let the town of Erie know that the next time the board will be meeting will be December 3rd, then
Sure.
that might help them with their process in making an appointment, since we certainly don't want to get hung up beyond the 15th with a split vote on budgets.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to circle back to, David, before we do end, is the annual resolution. We gave Haley time to look into that and finding those pieces that Jim says are missing. Just wondering, did we actually find anything missing from it?
Well, I think what Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, was referring to is the annual meeting notices. Is that what you wanted in the admin resolution? There's a new part of that statute that requires that for annual meetings, the notices be mailed to each resident of the district rather than posted notice on the website like we do for regular and special meetings.
I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but I'll email you and Jeff my concerns about E, F, and G.
Okay,
Okay.
Jeff, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. We can put it back on the agenda for the December 3rd meeting and yeah, make any tweaks that are needed.
Very well. Anything else, directors, for this evening's meeting?
Nope. I'll motion to call the meeting. To end
Hold
it.
on one second
sorry.
before we end. I'm sorry. I want to be clear about something because I'm in my head about something. So since we did not appoint anybody to the vacancy, the town now is going to take that on?
The
Is that what
town
I'm
has the town
understanding?
has the ability to appoint someone as soon as the 15th.
Well, they're going to, I mean, in my feeling, they're going to have to because we're going nowhere. So I
You're
think that
absolutely
we
correct.
should just go ahead and give them the okay to do so.
Well, they don't need the approval from you to do so. They will be doing so if they
I
want to.
think
That's
I'm
why I pointed out.
special, David. I think
I
I'm
know you do,
special.
Director Baca. That's why I pointed out to Jeff
yeah.
that he should make sure they're understanding of our timing and the need to no longer have a split board. So their appointment prior to December 3rd would help the budget process significantly.
Would be greatly appreciated, please.
Well, all I will do is I will just let them know that we're meeting again on the 3rd and that nobody was appointed. And as soon as I hear from them what their schedule might be, I will pass it back.
Thank you. I have a motion from Director Manley to adjourn. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Everybody stay well and stay healthy. We'll talk to you again December 3rd, if not
Thank
sooner.
you. Thank you all.
Bye-bye all.
Bye, everyone.